Happy December, Justin.
Yes. Happy December, Eric. It looks
We get
much nicer where you are.
it is phenomenal where I am.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
great.
just in a rainy climate though, but I've come back to Atlanta, which is a rainy climate.
You brought the rain with you. It's been
It,
raining a lot last week, last few days. So
yeah, it's that time of year, right? We're like this, the permanent changes here. We saw a lot of snow across the U.S., right? A bunch of snow has just been
a
crashing into
lot
folks.
of snow. Where it wasn't raining, people dealt with snow. So snow all across the country for the most part. Yes, there was a lot of folks posting about that this week. Also, a lot of winter reminder for maintenance teams and for properties. It's kind of to do their preventative winter maintenance.
Yeah, it seems as if, unless you live in Florida, of course, or maybe Texas, it seems as if all of our HVAC units have been switched to heat permanently
Yeah.
for the next couple of months.
So I saw you a couple weeks ago, even though we had a show last week. I didn't actually connect with you that much during the Thanksgiving holiday. How was it?
It was good. Yeah, I was overseas. I got a chance to spend some time in London. There's a lot of interesting facts actually about real estate that comes from England. A lot of words that we use. In fact, almost 90% of the words that we use in real estate these days stem from somewhere in across the pond.
So, so you're saying our English language in America is based on the English language in England? Like
Isn't that wild?
you heard it here, folks. Jeez, that's breaking news.
Lime green is based off of the color green. That's right.
That's amazing, Eric. Thank you. We're all a
Well,
little
the
smarter
English
today.
language has some sort of je ne sais quoi about it. I just, it's hard to
Yeah,
put a finger on it, right?
that is true. That is true. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip. It's glad to have you back in Atlanta. Was that your? I know it wasn't a business trip, but was that your last trip for the year? Are you traveling anymore?
Yes, that was my last trip of the year. Oh, my microphone's blending in. Last big trip of the year. I don't think I'm going to do anything else. I'm going to let everyone come to me from here on out. So everyone else can battle the winter weather and the storms and the snow and the sleet. Yeah.
Good luck
How
with
about you?
that. Yeah, I didn't fly. Last week was driving. And I will have one more flight this coming week, my last work trip, and then that's it until the new year. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, hopefully everyone else had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
I almost guarantee you my cranberry recipe was better than yours. It's not up for debate, but
Mm,
I'm just
yeah, I'm not gonna spend valuable airtime on debating how great I make. I buy like cranberries constantly. Like I buy them and freeze them so I can have them all year long because I love them that much.
Oh,
So I've
really? Oh,
I've perfected many a cranberry recipe and do a lot with cranberries, my friend.
this is how you keep your tart attitude throughout the year.
It's one of the ways. One of the ways.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's good to be back from the holidays. I know there was there's been a lot of holiday posts. There's been people going into winter. There's still been OPTECH posts too. People sharing things about OPTECH, about conferences, about upcoming conferences. But before we get into too much of the holiday stuff, there is a holiday today. I mean, there's plenty of them. It's also National Ninja Day, which I haven't prepared anything on that. But I did want to bring it to folks' attention that today is Bathtub Party Day.
This is an important day, obviously.
It's a super important day. It's a super important day because it's not just like take a bath day or bathtub day, which there are those days too that were kind of generated by some companies. This is Bathtub Party Day, which is supposed to be, whether it's by yourself or with others, it's a time to spend in the bath. Don't go there. But it's a time to spend in the bath
I have
and
so
have
many
fun and
questions.
relax. I know, I do too, but
So
I
many
thought this was
questions.
um, a very interesting day. really a moment to remind us to relax and take a minute. If you're Stranger Things fans and you've watched any of that drop, there's other ways to celebrate, bathtubs by surviving in one. Um, yeah,
That's interesting. That's a
yeah.
little tidbit drop there. I am a big fan. My wife actually worked on season 4.
Oh, nice, nice.
Fun facts there.
That
But
is a fun fact.
yeah, I guess I want to know who's Bert and who's Ernie, but we should probably yeah.
I think it's obvious. I think it's obvious. But there was actually bathtubs in the news. So
Oh, okay.
there was
There's a point to this. Okay.
there's almost always a point, Eric. Almost, not always though. There was some data. This is coming from out of Florida. So I won't make a Florida joke. This is I almost did. This is data coming out of Florida from a realtor organization that shows that the most viewed room in 3D tours is bathrooms.
Interesting. So I would have thought it would be kitchens. That would personally be my gut reaction, or like a closet. But bathrooms is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say kitchen as well, but I feel like maybe. Do you think? I mean, I'm you know making a hypothesis here. Is the fact that when you're doing a virtual tour, getting a sense of the space of a bathroom is probably different than getting the sense of a space of a kitchen, right? Because things are happening in the 360, the rotation. You can kind of it's easier to look a wide shot at a kitchen and say, "Oh, I know I can put my table there." Whereas if you're kind of closed in on the bathroom, you might not exactly know how it's fit together. I don't know.
No, that makes sense. Plus, it's almost impossible to take a good photo of a bathroom without getting picked up in the background, right? Some level of
Hmm.
a reflection. The classic, landlord photo of like the arm, into the bathroom and they're clicking the shot. But this does this will tie into something later on that we're going to talk about. A homeowner now, uh, arguably, I would probably spend most of my time looking at a new home or rental, and I would look at the bathroom because that's one of the things that I had to sacrifice owning a home is I didn't get a bathroom that looks like this. Had to do a little
Yeah.
bit of sacrificing, which anytime you're picking something out, it's very hard to check all the boxes for all the people living there.
Right.
So, this makes sense. This is yeah.
Right. And also, yeah, I think that like truly what that space is like and what that space can accommodate because again, if you're having to use your bathroom as some also like, vanity clothing-ish storage, which some parts of bathrooms have that, what does that look like? How does that compare? So I could see going back to that, that not being the first place I go to in a virtual tour, but I could definitely see myself rewatching it to make sure I understood it.
Yeah. I'm actually curious if people would be willing to share photos of their bathroom in its current state, because that is one of the most private things besides a closet, right? That we have, and it's like I have walked into a lot of bathrooms for various reasons. In apartment buildings, I'm don't even want to go there and
Okay.
explain why. But back in the day when I did IT work, I would use the restroom, right? And I would walk into the rental and, use the restroom and I would see a glimpse of how people lived. And you're exactly right. They were like clothes hangers in the bathroom and like people would dump clothes in the bathtub. And, like there's lots of versatile ways to use a bathroom. So you're exactly right. So it is extremely important how the bathroom is set up and functions. Form and function, my friend.
I the way my mind works is splitting up all of this like Eric in one shot and one breath. You started with the phrase I've walked into bathrooms for a
Lots of
variety of
bathrooms.
reasons. Lots of
Lots of
bathrooms
bathrooms.
for a variety of reasons. You also managed to throw the word dump in there because you said dump clothes. I could splice this up in a multitude of ways. Let me just say that. So nicely done. Nicely done.
I'd hate to piss you off any further. So.
Yes, yes. There we go. Check that box. Dad jokes all around. All right. What's on the news, my friend?
here's this actually ties into what I was talking about. This is an interesting survey or actually research done by John Burns, and of course our good friend Jay Parsons posted this and dove into it. But what this is saying essentially here is that people are renting longer, and specifically 30 somethings are the home ownership has declined over time. I should bring this the other direction. It has declined over time. And it's for a multitude of reasons. And, a lot of folks like Jay are trying to dig into this. And my gut reaction is about the fact that, well, yeah, housing affordability sucks right now. And it's probably going to continue to suck for a very long time, pending, everything from legislation to, removing tariffs to whatever. At the end of the day, we need to just add more supply. I think there's a general consensus in our industry about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what there is not a consensus on is that renting is potentially becoming an intentional chapter into and through adulthood. And it's not just like this short layover style thing that occurs. So what I'm saying here is, you grow up living with family, some level of family, friends, whatever, right? And you graduate college or you go out in the world with a job and you eventually start to rent. And the goal in the past was to get a home as soon as possible. And, back from the 1940s and beyond, like that's a lot of what our parents or aunts and uncles kind of dealt with, right? Or for some of us who've been in the industry longer, maybe we dealt with that. But the whole point is nowadays, like being a homeowner is not all it's cracked up to be. Like rising costs, rising expenses, and there's less portability at the end of the day, right? So yeah, Paul, exactly, right? So people are marrying and having kids later on in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like one fact that's occurring. Younger cohorts are placing more value on that flexibility and mobility. And at the end of the day, renting is more about the stage of your life, and that is changing. Like, yeah,
For sure, for sure. And I think the other piece to it, because it's not just, I don't think it's one threaded kind of issue. Someone just shared, I think I'm trying to remember his name now. Adam Couch shared a recent survey, kind of talking about the rise in BTR, but where that was coming from is the fact that the mortgage rates are now on average close to 50% more than a rental rate on the across the board. So
Yeah.
you're having more people that they're not buying a home, because not just because they want flexibility, but also because they can't. And so it's going to
Yeah.
take a lot longer. I mean, so there's two things kind of at work. I think the people are enjoying living in these urban cities, moving from place to place over a multitude of years. But then you have a whole other side of it that's saying, hey, I need to
Yeah.
rent while I put my kids through elementary school because I can't afford, we're not able to afford a house and do all the things that come with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, like basically, long story short, we're not going to go back to these 1970 home ownership rates, not anytime soon. And even if we can make owning a home cheaper and more accessible, the 30 somethings very well may not budge. They may continue to rent. Really rentals back then, these like kind of like roach motels turned into rentals, like long-term rentals in some areas. Like that is like no longer the common, luxury lifestyle, modern class A property. I mean, these class A properties are very much so, without a doubt, of the highest quality, being built with using, some of the best materials out there,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're, green or, just modern. And they're to the point where it's like you're not just getting these like junky materials put into a rental that it's only going to last for 10 years and then it's all going to have to be ripped out and replaced. I mean, it's going to withstand a little bit more test of time. So folks are spending more time and spending more money in a rental.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're, interested in this data, John Burns had another kind of subset or another way of looking at the data like a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, prior to the holiday, where it was showing that the age of owning your first time home has increased. We're now in the 40s when you're for the majority of
Yeah.
first time homeowners in our country. Not across the globe. It's different across the globe. It kind of compared the US market to other markets, but very very interesting stuff.
And look, this is Justin, this is huge for our industry in general. Like this means good things for the multifamily industry. Obviously, I would love home prices to go down so that more people had that flexibility or optionality to buy a home if they wanted it. I'm not
Mhm.
discounting that, but my point is this is great. Like if the industry wants to keep doing this, this is great. Uh, Hopefully we continue to be able to, build new class A properties like at a clip in which the market can absorb them without drastically changing prices. But I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon.
No, and I think that I think the spectrum of the type of product that gets built over the next 10 years will be more and more diverse. I think in my trajectory of it, right, it's been very dispergent. It's been very much like it's either a luxury property or class A property with like 2 rooms, or like something mid with 4 rooms. It's like, or affordable. Now we're getting like a blend of something where it's like, okay, you have mid income, 3 rental. It could be a house, it could be an apartment, but you have all different kinds of properties now that are starting to become part of what's offered. I think that's going to increase.
Yeah. Awesome. Great points. All
Awesome.
right. Well, let's kick it off to what's going on in the rest of
What
the world.
else? Yeah, so some highlights. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. People catching up. I will say again, we still see, OPTECH updates. Just a shout out for us, like we're gonna package together a couple little videos, and be showing those separately outside of this show, uh, so that we can recap OPTECH. That'll go all the way through the end of the year, and so pay attention to that. Also, if you want to be featured or want a story, we're going to update kind of how you can connect with us. So look out for an updated way to kind of submit a story so that you can be featured as well, either on this show or just kind of those deep dives.
Yeah.
Um, so the holiday season, people talking about, holiday parties. I think the Maryland Housing Association had an ugly sweater party last week, which are one of those are ones those are some of my favorite types of parties. Um, Lisa Trojan talked about gift giving, in the sense of sort of the client to, the supplier to operator, whether they're a client or a prospect, but sort of that whole idea of like getting your name out there, getting your logo out there, making the point that oftentimes it's kind of a gift. It's like a gift of the magi. Like it's a gift that you give that doesn't necessarily get seen by the person you want it to get seen, or if at
Mm,
all, because there's just so much of it, right? People are sending, popcorn, cans of popcorn, which she advises to maybe reconsider, or lots of other kinds of gifts. So how do you stand out? Do you give gifts in July? Do you Christmas in July instead of this time of year? Do you donate something for an event that they want to host? Money or
yeah.
prizes or something that they want to host. Like how do you think organizations should look at this from a marketing perspective? Because that often goes into your bucket.
Honestly, I think if you can get someone to converse with you, that's great. From a marketing perspective, I love the idea of donating to like a local or regional organization that directly impacts that company or property. Uh, I think it's great to like maybe to be able to message someone and say, hey, we're going to donate $100 on behalf of your property to one
Mhm.
of these 2 or 3 organizations. Which one would you like to choose? And just kind of let me know if you're tied to any of them.
Right.
That's it. And
That's
leave
a
it at
great
that. Like
idea.
zero
Yeah.
sales, you're having a conversation and you're learning more about the prospect
Yeah.
or your current customer. Like
Right.
done.
That's a great idea because again, it's about that conversation, and a lot of organizations at this time, they do donate to the local school or the local arts organization or whatever that's in their community, and so saying, "Hey, X company or property, what can we do? Can we match what you're donating?" Like that's a great conversation starter,
I
right?
think,
Like
yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
I like that. So she had advice on that about how to consider that. And also if you are somebody or a company that gets all of this, swag and wealth and all this stuff, what do you do with it? She had a few ideas as well, what people do in terms of internally how to spread that across your teams. So it's not just going to the C suite, but maybe it's getting out there in other ways.
Yes, I will say it's sort of reminiscent of having leftover pizza from like a conference from the executives and then you like leave it in the break room after. It wasn't necessarily for them, but they still appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
why let it go to waste? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, if it's like like a consumable for sure. But
Yeah, and being
um
intentional with it, I think,
yeah.
versus just like, "Let's get it out of here," but saying, "Hey, let's put this stuff with this team, let's put this stuff over here." Not a bad idea. Speaking of
Well,
supplier relations and operator
oh,
relations,
I was gonna
was
say,
that your
speaking of people on opposite sides of the room.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that better, let's do that one.
Yeah.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead, it's up
Speaking
to
of
you.
people on the opposite sides of the room and coming together to all branch it up. Now, Tony Sousa posted something, I guess, a couple months ago at this point, I guess, but it's coming to fruition now where he's digging into, I mean, frankly, some of the issues that revolve around suppliers and property management companies, owners, operators, asset managers, property managers, like dealing with the suppliers and how, like, maybe this is meant to be more of a learning thing, right, for everyone to understand, a little bit more into the motivations of how multifamily works. I think there's only a few people who are doing this that I see visibly on LinkedIn that are really digging into like the hey, do this, not that. I'm a property owner, I'm a property manager, do this, not that.
Right. Well, and it first. Oh, so here's the. I think, right. I think it's not a new concept. I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years. We've always been talking about this rift and
Yeah.
issue, but I think how that gets talked about, and I think where the cool thing about this is, right, you're bringing in kind of an equal balance. Like oftentimes I've seen people step in and say, "Here, let me talk to all you people on how to do this one thing." This is kind of nice because it's kind of like a discussion, which is kind of that back and forth, which I think it'll be interesting to see. I think what's happening is they're being recorded or have been recorded. Stuff is going to drop in the coming year. So definitely worth a listen. But it's always, anytime there's a discussion between people, I think it's worth paying attention to.
I agree, and I frankly think Tony is a great representative of this. I'd love to actually drop in one or two of the photos, but we'll do that maybe later. Yeah,
It's all right. It's been dropped on LinkedIn. They know people. I
this is
like that's the
this is
one.
true.
That's the thing. I mean, people know about it. That's why we're talking about
This is so true, Justin.
it.
In case you missed it, this is why you're here. All right.
Yes.
Well, speaking of,
You don't have one.
I don't know,
Speaking
just
of another kind of discussion, I think that's how.
waking up early and having discussions.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's two. The Multifamily Breakfast Club does something similar. It's not a talking about the divide between two sides of the table, but it is bringing in industry experts onto a property site, inviting those people in the property, inviting the suppliers that kind of support it, and there is really a conversation and a learning component. So it's more of like an interactive fireside chat. If you can't tell by those amazing skylines that I pulled in from Canva, It's in Philly and Atlanta next week. So that's what's coming up. There's back to back for the first time ever. Shia Shepherd will be speaking at the one in Philly at a Greystar property. And then Dr. Debbie Phillips will be here in Atlanta at an Amley property. So check out Multifamily Breakfast Club. I think there are still some spots left, and see if you want to be part of the Breakfast Club.
Great points. Well, verifiably a great time. We actually have gone to one of the lunches, but it was a Supplier lunch, and that was a long time. That's when we did a live show.
Yeah, that's correct. Correct.
Yeah,
So yes,
Dom Beverage, right?
yes. Dom on his 20 for 20 often has these themes for the last few years. He has one on verification the last couple years. Obviously, verification is not going anywhere in our industry. Risk is not going anywhere. And so most recently dropped a conversation that he had with some folks, worth a check out, how verification it has been evolving. And we'll also call out Tim Ray of Verifast, who was on that, but also separately kind of talked about the verification space and how he sees competition in that space, and as someone that works in that space, as a good thing. And it is, because it's proof of what you have is valuable and what you have is there and real and a need. So however you determine on how to solve it, and I would say this across all kind of platforms and companies, there's not a silver bullet. It's just a matter of understanding the different tools and what makes the most sense for your company, for your types of properties, for the clients you represent, all of that.
Yeah, this is true. There's really no silver bullet, it seems like. And specifically, if you have like you just said, like a fractured setup, it's got to be challenging. So I'm not jealous of any technical teams that have to deal with
Yeah.
vetting, this kind of software, or making a switch for that matter. But yeah, Dom's just done a phenomenal job about that. And we'll actually switch over now to some breaking news. I want to add something in that Dom has been keeping us abreast on, and this happened right before, let's just like Thanksgiving drop. The
RealPage stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the Department of Justice, the Antitrust Division reached a proposed settlement with RealPage over its, management software lawsuit. So sorry, it wasn't a lawsuit technically. It never went to that.
No, it never went to that. It was yes, exactly.
But essentially, for anyone who's been living under a rock or maybe woke up from a coma, the Department of Justice alleged that RealPage, the tools at RealPage, were using non-public, competitively sensitive data from landlords to set rents. And this was, occurring during COVID, I think was a lot of where this stemmed from. And this included features that were discouraging rent decreases and helping align pricing across competing landlords. And essentially, they were also like hosting meetings where competitors were sharing sensitive information, right? So we actually experienced that at OPTECH, where, there was, a couple warnings that I saw that basically said like, hey, be careful what you talk about, because anything you say can and potentially will be used against you in the court of law if you're discussing, rent prices and how you do it or specifics around that, and you're sharing that information with a competitor that is illegal. So essentially, there is. I think there's, the federal court in the Middle District of North Carolina has to approve this proposed settlement. There's going to be about a 60-day public comment period, but RealPage is going to have to do a couple things if the court signs off on this. They're going to have to stop using competitors' live non-public data to set its rents in real time. From my knowledge, they weren't doing that, but essentially they're not going to be doing runtime pricing decisions based on what other landlords currently or rent info is. And they're only going to be able to train their data on aged models. So something that's like 12 months or older. I think that's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
12 months ago data is not very accurate. in our world, albeit it is helpful, but it's not extremely accurate. But that's just to train the models on that, right? So it has to be backward looking. You can only use coarse geography, so you can't do any like fine tooth comb. So chances are this will be, more about like broad cities and metropolitans as opposed to maybe like zip code to zip code. They're gonna have to remove or redesign the price flooring, price floors, or price alignment features. And they have to stop running market surveys that collect sensitive data. So a couple other things, court-appointed monitor, cooperate against landlord co-defendants, things of that nature. But pretty big deal. Just kind of breaking this down here. So we'll keep monitoring this if there's any changes. And we'll bring you the updates now and through this year and into the new year.
Yeah, we're almost there. A couple other things before we head off. But side note is Mike Brewer left-handed? Is that why these cups are like this?
I had the same question, which is why I stopped using my cup.
Because this is how I want to drink it, and it doesn't have the logo, and so I purposely did it this way.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Anyway, I think they need both options. But
we'll ask Mike on Monday. I think we're gonna meet up at some point.
Yeah. A little
breakfast chit chat.
Powwow. You're gonna get yelled at. You'll see a whole new MF weekend update next Friday.
for not having their logo on our nice new microphone.
So a couple other things. The Wolf Company kind of did something cool just to shout out their hardworking leasing teams, recognizing that it's a tough market out there because there is kind of an oversaturation of some units. And so for the leasing teams that kind of moved the ball forward and kept things growing, they customized some Converse sneakers for the teams and sent them out, which is kind of a cool kind of recognition of someone's work, something that's useful, something that they can, that's personalized. That's always nice. And in another feel-good kind of personalization moment, Rob Kelly has been doing this for a little bit, the Amazing People Initiative. So he'll post about amazing people, how he knows them or how he was connected to them on LinkedIn, a little brief bio or kind of facts about the person, and kind of encourage them to kind of connect with others. So it's kind of a shout out, an encouragement of networking, which is something that I've always been a big fan of and get excited about. So some fun stuff on the end of a very cold Friday.
Well, that's a great shout out to them.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, I guess we should cap it off here. We only have a couple weeks left. We have a guest on the show next week. So that should be fun. And maybe one more guest, but I think that's it. We're just going to sail off into the sunset. We'll have some predictions. I want to do some predictions. Yeah.
We'll do some predictions. We'll see what our bandwidth is. I also think we'll probably do some kind of recap of this year in the MF weekend style. We'll see what we got a lot of planning to do on Monday, sir. We got a lot of planning to do on Monday.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll get aligned and we'll hit our KPIs and we'll do our thing. And
yeah, tell me about it.
All right. I'm ready to hit the showers.
Okay, I'll take a bath. All right.
Your dreams come true, and I wonder if you know